And everybody's been getting away from probably what they're doing at work and watching some of the Olympics. I know I have been keeping my eyes on the screen, and I have enjoyed watching everything from skateboarding for the first time this year. Pretty cool. Soccer, of course, basketball. Who knew handball was in the Summer Olympics, and it looks pretty intense. And then you have the rifle, but everyone has their eyes on gymnastics and, of course, swimming. And I have brought one of the best here in Mississippi to talk with us about the sport of swimming, not only in our state, but then also maybe what's going on over there in Tokyo. His name is Khameron Glass, but I think they call him Kham for short. He is an alumni at Brandon High School. He is headed to Drury, how you say it, University? Drury University in Missouri. But he got his chance at the Olympic trials this past summer, or I guess early summer. And although it didn't pan out the way Kham wanted, there's always next time. And it's pretty daggum cool that you even got the opportunity. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. And
I didn't even add in the fact that you're a Mississippi High School swim record holder. You were junior national contender. You were Wendy's Heisman nominee. I mean, it just keeps going on and on, Kham. But first, I want to talk about the exciting race that we got to watch last night. We were chatting about it just a little bit, and it was the 400-meter freestyle. So for those listening to Good Things, that's 8 laps. That's 8 of 50 meters freestyle. With Katie Ledecky, you know that name, it's Team USA. And then you have the Aussie, what was her name?
Tidman,
who's 20. Do you know how old Katie is?
I think Katie's 24.
So she's like 4 years in professional sports is like she's basically 40 compared to to the 20-year-old. But the rivalry there and the friendly competition, and spoiler alert, if you're going back to watch it, poor Katie didn't win, but to watch the excitement of the Aussie finally beat an American, and then watch her take out Katie Ledecky in the way that she did, and the excitement and the joy was, you almost found yourself not rooting for, but being okay with the Aussie taking home the gold. Did you feel that way watching it, Kham? He's
I
like,
did.
no.
I mean, I always like to see Katie Ledecky dominate. She's been known for that ever since 2012 when she qualified at 15 and won at 15. So to see her swim and get caught in the race, it was kind of shocking for me. But in swimming, it's always an upset. But Tidman had a really good year. She was also looking to basically win the event. But I didn't feel as though she was going to catch Katie Ledecky.
Especially on that last turn. And if you haven't seen the Aussie coach go viral, you probably will. I'll probably find it and share it in the Good Things Facebook group. Because, again, even though it wasn't Team USA came out on top, I mean, she still got a silver. Katie did. She still, I think, did her second best in her career on that race. So she still came out like, I did really well. She just, the other girl had a better race. But you just realize in those few seconds after that how much work, how much time, how much energy goes into literally one event every 4 or 5 years, and just all the preparation and then the joy whenever you see the benefits of that hard work. So she mentioned that Katie was sort of her, I guess, idol for so long, or her sort of inspiration for pushing harder. So, Kham, I'm curious, do you have like an inspiration when you look to the pool? Like, who has inspired you for so long to keep going and building as a swimmer?
In the sport or just in my life or in general?
Actually, either.
In the sport, I went into the sport at backstroker, so Ryan Murphy was always my idol when I looked at swimming, and then it progressed to Caleb Dressel and him. So those two are my motivation, inspiration when I continue swimming, because they compete at such a high level, but they have fun while doing it. And he's recently passed on, but my dad was a really, really big motivator for me in my career. He always supported me, make sure I could go wherever I wanted to go, do what I needed to do, along with my mom, my grandma, my uncle, aunt. All of them have been supporters of me, so whenever I have that support system behind me, I just keep going and I have fun while doing it.
And that's one thing I feel like most of the athletes there, Team USA, you didn't really see it on the swimming side, but at the gymnastics part last night, they would pan to families that were being live streamed from their homes because they can't be there thanks to COVID or the pandemic or whatever. And you realize that these people, it really does take a village to get these individual athletes to the top of their sport. And so what you just said was basically the same thing, Kham. It's taken so many in your family to sort of be, back you all these years. So let's go back to the first for you. When's the first time Kham got in the water and started with swimming lessons or even was introduced to the sport of swimming?
Well, my first interaction with the water was actually kind of terrifying, but at the same time, it was kind of funny. I was in Alabama with my family. We always go to Tuscaloosa because that's where my second family is. And we stayed at, I think, the Sleep Inn. It's not even called the Sleep Inn anymore. And we were in 12 feet, and I was maybe 5, 6 years old, and I jumped in. I jumped in 12 feet, and my grandma, no one saw me for a long time, and they rushed over there, and they picked me up out of the water. But I was still excited to get back in the water.
So were you just sitting there treading, trying to figure out how not to die?
Oh, no, I was definitely drowning. I had no control of what I was actually doing. I was just underwater, and I was basically drowning. So my grandma pulled me up, and she saw that I still wanted to get in the water. She signed me on the next summer at Redbud Park, where I actually started learning how to swim. And after I progressed in Redbud Park very, very fast, the teachers there, and my teacher was Coach Wash. He saw that I had potential in the sport. When he saw that I had nothing they could show me anymore, I went to Makos, and I progressed from there, moved on to Sunkiss, and here I am.
Here you are. And how old are you now?
I'm 21.
So you're 21. Okay, so that's been what? Math is hard.
So I started competitive swimming at 11, but I want to say I started...
So 10 years.
Yeah, so 10 years.
So,
but I want to say I started swimming right around 8.
So what was it about the sport of swimming? Because, you are obviously naturally athletic. Anyone who's watching over at SuperTalk.fm sees that you're a buff, beefy 21-year-old. And so why, because, and it is growing. The sport of swimming is definitely growing in Mississippi. We'll talk about that. But usually it's not what's cool on campus just yet. It's getting there, but you still have football and baseball and basketball that sort of pull most natural athletes out of the sport of focusing on swimming. Did you dabble in other sports, or was it always swimming for Kham?
I dabbled in sports a little bit. My cousin, his name's Tadrick, and my uncle Alvin played baseball for a little bit. I wasn't the greatest at it, but it was something different. I played in Pee Wee football when I was a little bit younger, and there was a lot of injuries, so my grandpa wanted me to take me out of that and put me into swimming. Obviously, I wasn't too keen on swimming to begin with because I said, swimming, what is this?
You just go up and down the pool. It's pretty boring.
Yeah, you don't. And I saw the difference between football players in general to swimmers, and at first I was just like, football players are huge. They really, really big, strong guys, yada, yada. And I looked into swimming, and I saw guys like Michael Phelps, Ryan Lochte, Matt Grievers. I said, wow, these guys are tanks.
Thin, thin, relatively speaking, to their size, and wide, broad
very
shoulders.
Wide, yeah. So, and the rate of swimming injury-wise wasn't very high. So when I saw the build of their body structure and the longevity of their career, I just said, hey,
why not?
Why not? I can go into this. I can have a really good physique and swim for a very long time. And I realized that football, basketball, baseball, whatever the sport may be, every sport has their complications and intensity, whether it makes it unique being hard. But swimming at such a high level, not many people can really do that. So,
true story.
So to me, to be able to have the athleticism to maybe play basketball, football, wherever sports may be, but compete at a high level in swimming, I just figured, if I can do this, mentally I can do anything because...
Well, and one thing, too, which we'll get into, is swimming is not only an individual sport, but it's still a team sport. And, that's what I enjoyed. That was my background. I was a competitive swimmer. When you said Makos, it brought back all of these great memories. And there's so many listening to Good Things today who their kids probably just completed their summer swimming competitions, or there with their community clubs or whatever it may be, or even moved into year-round competitive swimming. But we've got more with Kham Glass coming up next here on Good Things, and all about the sport of swimming. And fun conversation with Khameron Glass, also known as Kham by his friends. He's one of the top swimmers here in Mississippi. He just signed a scholarship to go to Drury, am I saying it right? University, which is in Missouri, which we're like, oh no, Delta State. However, that's okay. When you got that opportunity, when you were graduating Brandon High and you excelled as a high school swimmer here in the state, and you did start getting offers or where to go to college, what went through your mind of making your selection?
Well, whenever I was going through making a selection in high school, I always thought, hey, if you want to take your swimming to the next level, go D1. You have to go D1. So I reached out to some D1 schools, and honestly, I didn't have any offers really going into college. I have a really good friend named Brian Sullivan. He swims with me at Sunkiss as well. He mentioned me to the coaches at Drury, and the coaches started looking at me. And my senior year, thankfully, I had a breakout year. I qualified for my summer junior national competition in the 100-meter freestyle, and that's like a step from U.S. nationals. So Drury kept on looking at me, and they gave me a chance. Coach Brian Reynolds and Zach Mertens and Doug Schrank, those are the coaches there. They looked at me. They saw the potential in me, and they gave me a chance. And
in the world of swimming, they really are big contenders for national championships, aren't they? Because it's a little different.
To my D2?
Yeah.
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 In D2, I think of us as alphas because Drury is one of the higher D2 schools. And honestly, coming up this next year, this is the D2 national champions.
There you go.
That's what I see.
And that's the kind of mindset I guess you have to sort of take any sport to that next level. So so obviously you've had tremendous coaching from Mako's and Sunkiss and all to get you to this level, Kham. But who helps you with the mental part? Because, I mean, in any individual sport, and if you want to think of swimming as sort of the track and water, is sometimes how I like to say it, because it can be short or sort of long events, and it's individual, but it's also team, and it's all about who can get there the fastest. I mean, to be honest. And so there's a lot of mental toughness that has to go to push your body and keep it at that sort of level for, till you get to the end of the water or get to the wall. So where does that mental toughness come from?
Being that we had athletes in my family growing up, when you also said mental toughness, the first person that came to my mind was my uncle-in-law. His name's Courtney Smith. He was a professional. He was a baseball player, and he actually had the chance of going pro baseball, but he got into a car accident and ended his career. So ever since swimming got started, he was really, really supporting me throughout the way. Whenever it got hard, he always talked to me about mental toughness, and you always got to break through because someone wants it, but you have to want it more. And when you have those tough challenges, just turn to the family. So I put my mental toughness and my mental health to him, along with my father-in-law. His name's Darrell London, my mom, my grandma as well, my sisters, and my friends actually at Drury. I have 3 in particular that help me with mental toughness. Their names Lexi, Basler, Ellie Shell, and Gabby Fushi. I had a really, really hard time my first and second years of school mentally, and my dad also is what helped me. So having those supporters along the way with this sport, being that it could be so mentally draining, is what helped me
because
get through.
It is just, I mean, I know the workouts, if you know anything about the sport of swimming, isn't just swimming laps, but it's also just swimming laps. And so, I mean, those can get draining and daunting to sort of get back in. So you had to realize, Kham, and I'm sure you had your coaches, and I feel like this with all high school athletes who have potential, there has to be a moment where you decide to sacrifice normal high school life to some extent to do the things that others aren't willing to do to become the athlete others aren't willing to become, to be the athlete others can't become, or however the quote goes. So what year was that for you in school? When did you make that switch to say, okay, I'm going to take a bet on myself. I'm going to sacrifice some of these other fun things that normal high school kids get to do to focus on this skill and see if it'll take me somewhere?
Definitely my senior year. Because my junior year is whenever I got my winter junior cut, and that's when I told myself, hey, you can go farther in this sport. So I basically sacrificed going out with my friends, skipping a day of practice just to hang out, relax, I actually didn't even have my senior night after I graduated. Me and my coach at the time, David Orr, we had a meet at Atlanta, Georgia. It was a tier or arena pro swim series. That's when I really started getting involved in jumping into the sport of swimming. So that's like a national competition. So that's when I really thought, if I really want to excel in this sport, it has to start now, because I was already starting kind of late.
Well, it looks like it paid off, because you did get to go to the Olympic trials this past, I guess, season or session. Mm-hmm. How does that work? How do you get selected? Do you have to qualify? And then, share how that worked for you.
Okay, so for me, the way the meet went, after NCAAs, we were supposed to get back in the water to get ready for Omaha. And to qualify for Olympic trials during the year, based on how they do the times, there's a time standard that you have to meet. And for me, I only had enough time to train for the 50-meter freestyle, because I had a little break after NCAAs. So the time standard is 23:19. 23 seconds. 23 seconds.
23.19 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
That 19, you really need it.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, about 23:19 is, in the 50 free, there's no room for error. It's literally a perfectionist race. So leading up to the meet, I had 3 people in general helping me qualify for the meet. One swimmer, his name is Alex Bowen. He's from the UK. And a really, really good friend of mine named Karol Ostrowski. He's actually from Poland, and he swam at the Olympics, I think 2 nights ago. Or no, last night. Yeah, I think it was 2 nights ago. He swam 100-meter freestyle for Poland, and they broke the Polish record. Anyway, the meet before I actually qualified for the Olympic trials, I went 23:95 in the 50 free.
Which we're talking about like 88 tenths of a second off, which that's in the sport of swimming and in track too. I mean, it comes down to like tenths of a second or 1/100th of a second.
Mm-hmm. So I never really panicked. It was my first long course meet back after the short course season. So I just got back in the water. Coach Zach, Alex, Carol, they worked with me, making sure my stroke was really, really refined, because it's all about cutting milliseconds. And I went to a meet in Kansas. And when I swam my first prelim race, I went from 23:9 to 23:10. Woo! So I got the cut for trials in the 50 free by 8 tenths.
That's okay.
And that was from 2 weeks prior from my last meet when I went 23:9. So and then finals, I ended up going 22:98, 99, which is a lifetime best for me. I've never cracked 23 before in my life, so it was a mental moment for me.
I don't know if I could run 50 meters in 22 seconds, so.
I'm sure you could.
Maybe.
But it was a eye opener for me, because me going 22, it was decent for me at the time. I'm never really a satisfied person, as you can tell, or as you can probably agree, being a competitive athlete yourself.
Well, and most athletes aren't.
Yeah,
They're their worst enemy.
That is true.
Or their biggest critic, and they should be. So that got you to Omaha.
That got me to Omaha.
The same time our dogs were there. Did you ever get to see? I think they were across the street from each other. So did you even know baseball was going on?
Well, the way the Olympic trials worked this year, I saw the stadium, and I knew that the national national championship.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I knew that was going on, but the way the Olympics worked this year, there's wave 1 and wave 2. So because of COVID regulations, and since I had wave 1, I went to wave 1 cut, so I was there before the dogs were there.
That's just spoken like an athlete with his blinders on. He's like, it was baseball on the other side. Yes, it was.
I wish I could have seen them.
And they probably were thinking the same thing. What, is that swimming going on over there? Everybody had their blinders on, doing the best they could. And yeah, we're going to continue down this journey with Kham Glass net, but we wish that Kham would have punched his ticket to the Olympics, but that's okay. You've got your sights set on maybe 2025. I think about that. There's got to be like a level of disappointment, Kham, that you made it to the Olympic trials, and of course you're never going to be satisfied if you didn't, make the team, and then you're never satisfied if you don't do what you want, at the actual event. But did you ever just take a moment to just say, wow, from that kid at 6 who jumped into my motel's pool and almost drowned to in 10 years or so, I am at the Olympic trials? You need to have you stopped to take that in at what an accomplishment that is as an athlete?
I have opened my eyes and realized, hey, you're here. Not many people get this opportunity to be here. You got to take advantage of it. But as soon as I'm thankful for that moment, I instantly, all right, what's the next thing? I was always taught, if you succeed in something, that means you were probably meant to succeed in it, but there's greater goals for you to reach. So once I got there, I was thankful for being there, but I knew I had more to go.
Well, and I know like it's 4 years, 5. Who knows what'll end up being next? But hopefully, only 4 more years to the Summer Olympics. That will be 2025. I mean, is that like on your vision board? Do you have that, or is that too much to think about right now? Are you just taking it one meet or one goal at a time, or is that kind of like I want to get back there?
Obviously,
not that you would turn it down.
Oh,
but.
Of course not. Obviously, I want to get back there, being my long-term goal. But I started to realize looking more into the future doesn't really take away from what's in the present. So I stay really aware of what's going on right now in the present and what I can control, because you never know what can happen in the future. But since I have control of what's going on in the present right now, I'm living in it, and I'm making sure I'm making the most out of it. That way I can reach my long-term goal in 3 years. And that's where.
Because I guess, because technically you're already, and that will. No, I don't want to not that it scares you, but like it goes by quicker than you think it would. Which I assume if you look back over your swimming career, even now, Kham, you probably think, man, it feels like just yesterday you started with, your community team and then moved through the different ones around here. I want to talk about the sport of swimming though here in Mississippi, because from the coast to North Mississippi, for sure, there are so many blossoming competitive teams, and high school is really taking up swimming like never before. I mean, back in my day, there wasn't as many opportunities for students to be introduced to the sport of swimming like I feel like there are today. So how have you seen the sport grown over the last decade?
Over the last decade, there's been different adaptations to the sport. Is younger swimmers coming up very, very fast, and different techniques just change over time. There's not the same technique going on when Michael Phelps was swimming to where Dressel and all these younger swimmers are swimming now. But as I continue the sport excel, everything's changing. Everyone's getting faster and faster and faster because they're finding new ways to improve. So I just think swimming is moving in a very, very fast direction, and the exposure is also getting more as well.
Let's talk about the diversity, too, in the sport, because for a long time, you probably didn't have very many elite athletes that look just like you, Kham. And I think you're such a great role model for so many others to get into the sport of swimming. So what has that been like for you and your family personally? I mean, to show, young African-American students that, hey, think of swimming as something you can excel at or even try, and then to at least show them the path. Like, here is the way that you can do that. Anybody can get in a pool and learn how to swim, and giving the right opportunity can excel at it. Because I think it's a wonderful thing to be able to see more diverse swimmers reaching top levels.
Right. I think it's very, very important. I feel as though the reason why there's not more in the sport is because they don't really like getting out their comfort zone. There's not a lot of black swimmers or other races that aren't primarily.
Well, then it's being given the opportunity to learn the lesson, like get swimming lessons at 5, 6, 7, that sets sort of that stage, which I know you do a lot of. You teach swimming lessons to help, I'm sure, earn a living, but then also so other kids can have the skill of swimming. I mean, no one will ever regret learning to swim. No. I mean, so whether you make it to the Olympics or sort of not. So I think that, that's part of it, is just introducing it at very young ages. And sometimes it takes superstars to get kids asking for swimming lessons. So what's it like giving back or being able to teach swimming lessons to young kids?
I think it's great. Being that when I got into the sport, I had a mentor that gave me some lessons. His name was Jason. He taught me the ropes on how I needed to perfect my stroke or how I can improve in this stroke. And from Jason, it went to Ben Vaughn, from Ben Vaughn to Mixon, and then I ended up with my coach, David Orr. But I believe doing swim lessons will teach you how to actually learn thoroughly on how to evolve in the sport and learn how to flow and feel the water. So you will just be more aware of what you're doing, because when you're in water, you're out of your element. You're not on land. You don't have really full control of what you're doing. So once you learn how to move in the water, then you'll probably be very dynamic as not only athlete, but a human.
And
human
two,
being.
with swimming, I think it's one of those sports I think parents and grandparents need to hear. It's beyond just swimming lessons. Those are important. That can save your life. It's one skill that can obviously save your life. But taking it a little bit further for your kids, regardless of what sport they want to sort of go into, there's so many benefits, especially like that 5, 6, 7, 8, even if you do the community swim team type thing, that will build their athleticism for the other sports that they want to play. I just feel like more kids should at least give it a try, at least during the summertime, if you've got a team in your backyard.
Oh, for sure. I definitely agree that people should just learn how to swim when they have a free chance. But I think people don't want to because it's getting out of their comfort zone. You're on land, you know what to do, so you're not really in any danger. But if you enter another element like water, you're not too comfortable with it. So you don't really want to go through that hassle of learning how to do it. But I definitely think people should just take that risk and take that leap of faith and just learn how to swim.
Can you learn how to swim at any age?
It depends. I've had some swim lessons going on from 2 to 15, 16 years old. Some people learn better than others. So I do believe, you probably should learn how to walk first before you learn how to swim, unless you really love the water. But I think you can learn at any age, whether you're 50, 60 years old, whether you're 5 or 6. So.
Well, I'm glad you said that because, you may not be competitive in it, but, just in terms of exercise or feeling confident in water situations, I think just learning, even if it's just the freestyle, you don't have to learn all the strokes, but just knowing how to move, like you mentioned, sort of through the water without fear. You know who you are right now. You're listening. You're like, not me. I'm not getting in without my floaties, no matter, what age, or getting sort of above my head. And I think that's something, we always encourage people to, get out of their comfort zones or do something inspiring here. And I think that would be something for everybody to do, would be just to learn how to have that control in the water or to swim. I think a lot comes from it. Self-confidence, not to mention your lung capacity, your aerobic ability goes sort of through the roof. I tell parents that if you want your kids to have endurance in other sports, get them in swimming at a young age, because you will build their lung capacity a whole lot quicker in the water than you will, early on getting them into getting soloed one sport at such a young sort of age. If swimming wouldn't have been an option, what other sport did you dabble in that you think you would have gone for?
I don't really know, honestly. I looked up to my uncle a lot, and he did mixed martial arts, so I would have liked to.
You would have liked our guest last week, Miss Annabeth. She won the world record at in karate. She's 16 though.
Ooh.
She did nunchucks and all the things, and so just so many athletes here in Mississippi showing up and showing out. And we're going to show up just one more time with Kham. We're getting to know Khameron Glass. If you're in the swimming community here in Mississippi, then you know that name. But just to let you know, he holds records for MHSAA swim. What records do you hold or held?
I believe I still hold the 100-yard backstroke record.
What was that?
49.72.
That's crazy. And he is off to college coming up in the end of August, or the beginning of August, should I say. And you're going to Drury University. They're in Missouri. So what does a Mississippi boy do to get prepared for the winter? Because I don't think you've ever had a winter like you're going to have in Missouri.
Pack warm. Where I got really used to buying big puffer jackets and coats going up there. I bought some UGG boots for the first time in my life.
I can't see you as an UGG boot wearer, Cam.
It actually looks pretty decent on me. It looks pretty good. And long sweatpants. But other than that,
which I did my homework, and so I heard out of the water, Kham really lights his fancy shoes and socks. So, and for any athlete who is at an elite level, you spend so much time in workout gear, sweating, doing your thing, that it probably becomes important to you to at least have those special things outside of the pool. Mm-hmm. So is style and fashion just one of the things for you, or what else do you like to do that has nothing to do with swimming?
Style and fashion is definitely one of the things that I've gravitated towards. Being that when I first started swimming and going through high school, I was a fairly skinny guy. So the confidence when I wore some of these fashion outfits weren't as high as they are right now. So I dive into different fashion designs that makes me a little bit more unique. I don't like wearing the same thing I see someone else wear. So I switch it up every now and then. But yeah, fashion is definitely something that sticks out to me.
You definitely have the opportunity to do that. You're still young, 21. You rock those fashions if you want to. You'll get to a certain age where those sweatpants just are all you're going to want to be in, or at least out of the water. It comes with age. But so also out of the water, I want to say, when you get done, when you finish the Olympic trials, I mean, I think there's no hungry like a good swim hungry, right? You don't even have to be in the sport of swimming. Just a day in the pool will wear you out and make you hungry. So what does Kham eat whenever he's out of the water and he's had a hard swim? He's like, what is Kham going for?
A lot of my friends back at school know I'm a Chick-fil-A addict. I love my Chick-fil-A. But I've really gotten serious kind of about my diet. My coach doesn't like me eating pasta. Thinks pasta is empty carbs. So I eat a lot of quinoa, brown rice. My actual teammate got me on that. His name's Dominic. He's from Croatia. He got me on quinoa, brown rice, and I eat basically any protein, lean meat, steak, chicken.
What's it like meeting other swimmers from internationally that then become your friends? I mean, swimming is a big community, but anytime in any sport, once you rise to certain levels, it just starts to get smaller and smaller and smaller. Did you ever think you would have best friends from Croatia, or getting to watch the Olympics and know those individuals in the pool from different countries?
I started to get the idea that I would whenever I went to my first national meet, and I saw a guy from where is he from? Was he from Spain? No, he wasn't from Spain. He was somewhere from Europe, and he was talking to his teammate in their language, and I was wondering. I was like, oh, okay, we have swimmers coming over, obviously, and swimming with us. So when I got to school, being a Southern boy, when I tried to talk to them, I was talking really, really fast, not knowing, and they couldn't understand a word I was saying. It was nice actually getting to know these guys and ladies, and starting to form a really good friendship with them.
Well, we have someone on the text line who says their daughter works at Drury in Springfield. He said you're going to need good gloves, and a hat, and an ice scraper for your car windows. So make sure you add that to your bag.
I do need an ice scraper, actually. I've had mornings where my windshield frosted over, and I just drove with my head out the window to practice because I was already late.
There's nothing like trying to motivate yourself to get in a pool when it's snowing or iced outside, right? I mean, today we're talking like 105, 110 heat index. Anybody listening to Good Things is like, where is the biggest, body of water I can just go jump into? But whenever it's 20 degrees outside, the last thing you want to do is put on your skippies and go jump into the water. But they do have it heated, right? Like to some degree?
It is heated. I'm really confused because sometimes when we go to the pool, and some of my teammates can attest to this, they will say the heater's on, but the pool is still really cold. The pool is still really, really cold.
Just get swimming.
Yeah, just jump in. You're late, and that's the hardest part of the day. I still say
that's why the lady from Alaska is the first swimmer ever to make it to the Olympics. If you watch, look for her. No wonder she swims fast. It's cold there. Like, you just get in the water, and you just got to go really, really, really fast.
Yeah.
Well, Kham, this hour's gone by fast with you. How can we keep up with you and all that's going on?
You can just follow me on social media at kham.glass on Instagram. If you want to follow me, you can follow me also on Facebook. A lot of my races and posts be on there from jury and my national competitions as well.
And international, we'll put that into the future for you. But you guys stick with us. You got more coming up next with Sports Talk Mississippi from 3 to 6. Rhino and I will be back tomorrow at 2. But until then, take time for the good things.